Welcome back, everybody. This evening, everybody's favorite smartphone maker, Blackberry, because we're all still using Blackberries, right? Maybe not, but the company did report its most recent Q3 2023 earnings. And so I thought now would be a great time to check out this company and see if the financials support whether or not this company is beginning to turn things around. Since being founded in 1984, BlackBerry has pivoted a number of times. If you're anything like me, you probably remember them as the smartphone company that just showed up right there. But now they are trying to pivot into being a cybersecurity company as well as an Internet of Things company. BlackBerry has a number of partners, over 2,200 partners across the world to be precise. And a lot of these companies are huge companies. I mean, we're talking Google, Qualcomm, Nvidia, Microsoft, Baidu, Ford, Jaguar. And what you'll see is that a lot of the revenue for the Internet of Things side of business, at least, comes from the automotive market. And so looking at this slide, like I said, they have over 500 million endpoints that are protected. And of those 500 million, about 235 million of those are vehicles. So just to give you an idea of where their revenue comes from, BlackBerry is obviously aiming at every industry. They have companies like global banks that they serve, as well as different government agencies. But their main revenue, at least so far, seems to be coming from the automotive sector. So that's just something to know. It could mean a little bit more cyclicality with their earnings, at least for the near term. But at the same time, for an Internet of Things company, the automotive industry makes a ton of sense. And so moving into their earnings report that came out today, BlackBerry beat their earnings by 5 cents. And their revenue also topped estimates. Looking below, we can see that their third quarter adjusted EPS came out at 1 cent, which was 5 cents better than the expected negative 4 cents per share. And their revenue topped estimates at 175 million versus the analyst expectations of 165.15 million. So overall, a pretty decent quarter. With that said, Q4 2024 guidance from BlackBerry was not as good, with their projected revenue falling between 150 and 159 million dollars versus an analyst expectation of 200 million dollars. This has led the stock to fall in overnight trading. Last time I checked, it was down approximately 3 or 4%. So we will see in the coming days just how much Wall Street thinks this is an issue and whether or not the stock will rebound or if it will continue to fall. And so as always, guys, before I go into the financial numbers, can you please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to my channel? It really helps me out in figuring out what kind of videos you guys like to see. And of course, I cannot wait to bring more content to you in the future. Thank you so much in advance, and let's get into the numbers. Annual revenues have shown a bit of an uptick in the last 12 months, but overall, BlackBerry's revenues continue to fall from their 2018 and 2019 highs. EBITDA is looking much shakier, sitting at currently negative $53 million, which is an improvement over 2022, but is still negative, so again, not great. And in case you thought there was a turnaround, operating earnings continue to get more negative, so overall, on an earnings basis, this company is still struggling. Gross margins have fallen from nearly 80% in 2018 to just 57% in the trailing 12 months, while operating margins have remained negative the entire time, bottoming out at negative 36% in 2021 and starting to show signs of improvement over the last couple years. The one caveat to that, of course, is that in the trailing 12 months, they've still only had an operating margin of negative 16%, which is definitely not a good thing. Return on assets have struggled as well, but at least they were positive in 2018 at a measly 2.34%, but they currently sit at negative 34%. So BlackBerry is really struggling to use the assets that it has in a profitable manner. The company has also diluted shareholders to the tune of about 1.5% per year for the last 5 years. That's not a ton of dilution, but still as a shareholder, you should be aware of that, and that's not something that you like to see. Cash and short-term investments are also slowly evaporating, and they've been cut in half since 2018. What is a slightly decent picture is the long-term debt that's on BlackBerry's balance sheets, at least from what I could find, was currently zero. And while the company does take out long-term debt occasionally, they are pretty quick to pay it back as well. And this does not mean that BlackBerry doesn't have debt. They do take out short-term debt, but they do handle that short-term debt fairly prudently as well. And to underscore their fiscal prudence, we can see that their annual net interest expense has been positive for most years except for 2020. So even in a very low interest rate environment, BlackBerry was earning more interest than it was paying out, which at the very least means that this company is not overly burdened by debt, and that should be helpful in allowing them to continue to transition to a more profitable company and split off into two different profitable and financially healthy ventures. Free cash flow brings us back to the negative news though, with the company's current free cash flow number sitting at negative $83 million for the trailing 12 months. And this has yet to show any sort of improvement, which is a bit of a concern. And on a per share basis, this number looks even more concerning, currently sitting at negative 32 cents per share. And there doesn't really seem to be any sort of trend or even stabilization in their free cash flow. And so moving over to the PE chart, I'm just going to go out and say that this graph is not going to give us much to go off of because BlackBerry is such a volatile stock and their earnings have been so volatile as well that there's really not much we can garner from taking an average PE and seeing how the company trades around that PE. What is a little bit more helpful though is the value chart. First and foremost, we can see that BlackBerry's closing stock prices on a weekly basis, represented by this black line here, is super volatile. Starting in 2018 around $14 per share, then falling to about $3 per share, then rising back up to $15 per share, and then falling again down to $3 per share. So this stock has a ton of movement, and very clearly there's a lot of hype around a potential turnaround. What I will say is with negative earnings, the company's fair value is being calculated as basically zero. But if BlackBerry was to return to a profitability that was similar to pre-pandemic, so 2018 through even 2022, I would say that right now it's just slightly overvalued at $4 per share. In the past, I would say a fair value is probably between let's say $2.50 to about $3.50. So if BlackBerry was able to turn around, this would probably be a pretty decent long-term buying opportunity. What I will caveat that with, though, is that the projected compound annual growth rate, according to Yahoo Finance and the analysts that they survey, is negative 72.5% per year for the next 5 years. So essentially, analysts are expecting BlackBerry to earn absolutely nothing in the next 5 years. And that's even with the backdrop of this kind of tech market boom that we seem to be sitting in right now. So needless to say, Wall Street is not very bullish on this company. So to quickly summarize the few things that I do like about this company, first and foremost, their products are used by a wide variety of customers, so that must mean that at least something is working for them. They might not be able to earn much money on it right now, but their products are at least useful and seen as being useful by plenty of people around the world. BlackBerry is working to reinvent itself, and by all accounts, does plan to split into two different companies, which should help them focus on profitability and growth in specific sectors, so that generally has a positive outcome over time. And third, BlackBerry is kind of a speculator's dream right now if you're looking to speculate. With these really fast price movements in all different directions, it wouldn't be impossible to make a couple 100% pretty quickly in BlackBerry stock if you were to just invest in this company for a few months or a year and see the price spike back up. But fair warning, this is an unprofitable company, and it's uncertain how long that speculating sort of dream and that speculating price action is going to last. So I'm not going to play with fire in this situation, but by all means, if that's what you're into, BlackBerry is not a terrible stock to do that with. And for the cons, the major elephant in the room is that basically every financial metric is pretty awful. And with the exception of BlackBerry's debt load being very, very manageable, everything else looks pretty bad. I'm not even seeing signs of a potential turnaround in most cases. They are just generally struggling, and the struggle is getting more and more difficult. Second, I do have this really small kind of idea that is BlackBerry just kind of chasing trends? They've reinvented themselves many times, and they never seem to kind of stick to one thing. They were kind of the very first smartphone, and I applaud them for that. But when they lost their market share to companies like Apple and Google and Samsung, instead of trying to make their product better, they just pivoted into other things. And they seem to continue to just pivot. And obviously, I'm sure as you're all aware, the Internet of Things and cybersecurity are two very in vogue sort of industries to be a part of right now. And so I wonder, is it possible that BlackBerry is going to come out with some sort of AI type thing soon? Are they just trying to chase investor confidence by chasing hype instead of actually building the business? So that's just a bit of, speculation on my part. I can't actually say what the company is planning on doing and how they're coming to these decisions, but it's just a small worry of mine that says, I'm not sure what the actual motivations are for some of their pivots. And third, I mentioned this just a couple seconds ago, but there really are no signs of turnaround. I don't even really see signs of stabilization. So as someone who's looking to invest for the long term, I just don't really see anything that I want to see at this current point. The company is struggling, it's continuing to struggle, and they're not really giving investors any sign that they're starting to improve their struggles or even just mitigate their losses. So with that, I think it's pretty obvious that I do not view BlackBerry as a great investment, but of course, you are your own person. You can do whatever you'd like. This is not financial advice. And if you do choose to invest in BlackBerry or even just trade in BlackBerry, I wish you all the best luck. And so with that, thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. And if you would like a little bit of extra credit, leave a comment letting me know your thoughts on BlackBerry or give me ideas for stocks to analyze in the future. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. And with that, have a great night.